What's going on, everybody? Teddy Baldessar from TeddyBaldessar.com. If you're new to this channel, this is where we cover watches available for purchase on TeddyBaldessar.com, full authorized dealer of all the brands that we carry. And today we're looking at one that I have a personal connection to. It was actually the first Swiss watch that I ever owned with the Tissot Visitate. So in this video, doing a full in-depth review of this piece. At the end, look at things to consider, maybe if you're looking to buy this watch. And of course, all the relevant links will be in the description down below. But guys, let's take a closer look at this watch.
Now, first looking at a rundown of the specs, we have a case size of 40 millimeters, thickness of 11.6 millimeters, lug width of 20 millimeters, lug to lug of 47 millimeters, water resistance of 30 meters. Movement is an automatic ETA 28362. Crystal is sapphire, crown, push, pull. And the price is going to depend on the bracelet and strap option that you go for. This version here coming in at $650. And if you do use promo code VISITDATE at checkout, you get a free strap with your purchase of this watch. So I'm pretty excited to actually cover this watch today. This was, in fact, the first Swiss watch that I ever owned, and I stand by it today as being one of the best entry doors into the world of Swiss watchmaking. Now, the first Visitate debuted in 1953 and was surprisingly the first automatic watch to feature a date window that would automatically shift the date at 12 o'clock. The Datejust that came a decade prior did have a date window. It was an automatic watch. However, this instantaneous transition at 12 o'clock when the day changed, that belongs to the Visitate. The design of the Visitate was very just mid-20th century with its overall approach, including the retro design of the Tissot logo at the 12 o'clock. Much of that design style is maintained here with this Heritage Collection piece, and this personally has been a favorite of mine in Tissot's catalog, is maybe the more grown-up type of design from Tissot. As some of their designs I think are rather youthful, this one does feel much more professional with that overall logo design and just approach to that Heritage Collection. And really is a dress watch that checks off a lot of the boxes for the price in which it falls. Now, first looking at this one on the wrist, we have a good mix of, I would say, classic overall design with, I would say, more of a modern approach in terms of the case size without maybe overstepping quite a bit. So 40 millimeters with the case, 47 millimeters lug to lug, and a reasonable thickness at just above 11.5 millimeters. It's a good combination when looking at this. I would say this watch wears pretty true to that 40 millimeters. It's a little bit on the larger side if you are more traditional with the dress watch, but I own this watch. This was a watch that, and I'm certainly on the smaller end of wrist size, but I still pulled this one off with little to no issues. The 47 millimeter lug to lug does extend out a good portion for a dress watch, but I think overall the wearability here is kind of in a nice sweet zone. But I see this piece being appropriate for a variety of wrists out there. Now, the case-shaped design in this and the finishing is really where I think the Visitate shines, especially for a watch of around $600. With the high-polished case, some interesting lug architecture, and a sign-down, screw-down crown, the Visitate at a glance looks more expensive than it is while not being just overly in your face. And I'm certainly going to classify this as a dress watch, but given just its overall approach to design, I think this can certainly, with the right strap, get into the world of, say, more everyday or casual timepieces as well. To stick with the theme of the classic approach and heritage approach of this piece, we have a reptilian style strap that is of calfskin and is pressed, so this is more of an alligator grain here. It's of decent quality. I definitely think I would be swapping it out, and that's certainly something that I did immediately when getting my Tissot Visitate, and of course take advantage of that 20 millimeter lug width and that promo code at the beginning, Visitate. Just add the strap at checkout. You can pick any of the straps on our site to get it for free with your purchase here. We have some really good ones, and if you do want more details on how our straps are made, I'll also have a link in the description below about how they are made as well. Another highlight of this piece is the crystal. It does come in a dome sapphire effect and kind of matches the old school plexiglass crystals that you would see in years prior, maybe in those classic Visitates as an example. This one also has a very interesting kind of lens display in terms of as it gets to the outside of the crystal, it does have more of this mirrored stepped overall style. Kind of allows it to have some more depth and really just adds to its charm in my opinion. With this extending out edge and just how the crystal meets the case, it could create scenarios where this crystal could chip, but I never had issues in my time having my Visitate, so I can speak a little anecdotally with my own wearability there. Underneath the well-executed sapphire crystal, we have a slightly domed dial to mirror the effects of that crystal, coming in a cool blasted silver finish that reflects in the light and attracts the eye exceptionally. Timekeeping is handled by the applied polished stainless steel markers and a simple minute track printed in black between the hour markers. The hour and minute hands hands are polished stainless steel, kind of a sword Dauphine style, and really works well with the thin polished stainless steel second hand with its fun spade-like counterweight. It's important to mention here that the Visitate doesn't have any lume, which is pretty true to form of the dress watch or what it's trying to emulate, but might turn some people off, especially considering maybe some individuals that are looking in this direction are also looking at options, say from Hamilton with their khaki collection, if they wanted something a little bit more everyday, as well as the popular SARB models from Seiko. On the Visitate, we also have a day date function at the 3 o'clock. With its outlined stainless steel frame, this is well done for the overall price here. Other elements which have already kind of been mentioned is that retro Tissot signature at the 12 with Visitate printed right below and automatic printed at the 6 o'clock. Personally, I like the mix of the open dial real estate. The dial doesn't feel cluttered even with that added complication at the 3 o'clock. And with that retro applied logo, I, again, just think it's a bit more dressed up or mature looking than some of the other Tissot models that are out there that have a more youthful and playful type of tone. Now, one of the upsides with Tissot watches overall in the world of value is certainly coming with their movements. Typically, you're going to be seeing the Powermatic 80s in many of their watches. This one's a little bit different, coming with a more standard ETA 2836-2, a hacking and hand-winding automatic caliber with 25 joules, 38-hour power reserve, and a familiar beat rate of 28,800 vibrations per hour or 4 hertz. So a bit different than what we'll see from the Powermatic 80s with a lower beat rate of 21,600 vibrations per hour, so bringing that down to allow it to achieve that 80 hours of power reserve. The other added benefit, though, here is when you flip this one over, it does have pretty nice looks. I like the custom gold rotor. It's signed with the Tissot logo. And for this general price range, I think is going to be one of the more attractive views that you're going to have of a watch, typically finding more unfinished Miyotas or, say, Seiko movements in this price range. This is certainly better than those in terms of the looks department. In addition, you're also getting access to regulator pins, so if you did want to do your own regulation on this piece, unlike a lot of the Powermatic 80s, which are a bit more complicated in terms of their serviceability on your own if you're going to any watchmaker, this one's going to have a lot more just usability in that department. Any watchmaker is going to be able to work on this, which I think is a nice added benefit when thinking about the cost per ownership and not being tied to sending it back to Tissot, even though Tissot servicing costs are actually very, very reasonable. And in addition, I've also had some great success with just the overall accuracy of these movements, usually running in at the single digits. This one's running around plus 4 seconds a day. All right, so now just to unpack looking at this Visitate, I can put my money where my mouth is in terms of this one. This was one that stood out to me for quite some time. I own the black dial version. I think in retrospect, the silver dial, white dial kind of variant here is certainly more attractive in my opinion. But I think there's reason why this watch is commonly put in the spotlight when looking at watches under $1,000 and say more this $500-600 range in terms of its price. It's very attractive, it's wearable. The heritage design, I think, certainly plays into what is popular now, as many people are looking for kind of that vintage style look, which I don't see going away anytime soon as these brands just continue to latch on to their heritage, and Tissot certainly has a rich heritage at that. It's versatile with its 20mm lug width for a variety of different straps, and I think this watch, compared to others, does a very nice job in terms of being able to be dressed up as well as more casually worn depending on that type of combo with the strap is chosen. I think those with smaller wrists could see this being maybe a little bit too large for a dress watch, but because of its casual nature and some of its overall design attributes, I think that is a little bit diminished here with that kind of working in its favor. Also, because there's so many Tissot watches out there with 80-hour power reserve, as well as other watches in this range that can match that, that could be something to consider here if you are looking for more of an everyday wear, something you could just wear to the office, maybe not wear on the weekends, and then pick it back up and still have the time running. That is a nice added benefit at 80 hours, but serviceability should be a little bit easier on this one compared to, say, other options from Tissot in this price range. And similar to the Hamilton khaki field that I just did a review of, I think this one kind of falls in the same camp. You just look at what it's able to provide, where it's at in terms of price range. It's a safe pick for a great watch from a Swiss brand like Tissot. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I certainly think this is safe in the sense that when you're trying to get into the world of Swiss watches for the first time, you want something that is going to just knock off all the boxes, do what it's supposed to do, be versatile in a variety of scenarios, be reliable, have some brand equity in a brand like Tissot, which is certainly recognizable. If that's things that you want a dress-oriented piece, has heritage design, solid price, solid movement. This one makes a ton of sense, and now being able to handle thousands of watches over the past few years, looking back at this purchase as my first Swiss watch, I could say job well done to my former self.
All right, guys, if you did enjoy the video, thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell icon. That all really does help out the channel, so would appreciate that. In addition, if you're wanting to learn more about this piece, we'll have information in the description down below. TeddyBaldassarre.com, full authorized dealer of all the brands that we carry, so definitely check out the selection, full factory warranty for all of the watches that we have for sale. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I'll see you all very soon.